Part 92. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 911. With these faint lights, I can clearly see the environment we are in now. Everywhere he looked, there was a turbulent river. The river surged straight ahead like thousands of troops with a monstrous momentum. In addition to eating, the river water is rolling crazily, like boiling hot water, making people wonder if they will be cooked if they fall in. Su Tianxuan's expression became very serious. Just as she was about to tell me to be more careful, I said, "It's very dangerous here." "Be careful." Su Tianxian was slightly startled. In the past, she was the one who spoke out about me, but now it's me. Such a change in identity was something she couldn't accept for a while. I stared at the churning river water, and my heart slowly sank. The river water gave me a very familiar feeling, as if I had seen it somewhere before. Sudden. An idea flashed in my mind, and I finally remembered where I had seen such river water. That is the underworld. The underground river in Penglay Immortal Island actually leads to the underworld. As soon as this idea came to my mind, I saw a dark thing emerging from the churning river. I frowned and looked carefully. It turned out to be a water ghost. There is more than one water ghost in the entire underground river. Instead, there are countless water ghosts. Such a large number of water ghosts can easily overturn the paper boat. The consequence of overturning the paper boat was that the two of us, the master and the apprentice, were traveling downstream, and the current was so fast that we had no time to deal with these water ghosts in the water. No matter how powerful you are, you will appear particularly small against the power of nature. At this moment, the paper boat began to shake violently. My face froze. Those water ghosts had already started to take action. I just wanted to call out the karma fire, but I thought of one thing, that is, the paper boat itself is extremely yin. The karmic fire has a fatal blow to these extremely negative things. If you use karmic fire, you don't have to wait for these water ghosts to overturn the paper boat. The karmic fire will burn the paper boat. My brain was running fast and I quickly came up with a countermeasure. I looked towards the water, activating the ghost sea in my left eye. Ink-colored darkness invaded the entire river surface at an extremely fast speed. Yin soldiers emerged from the sea of ghosts one by one. Just as I thought, the netherworld ghost sea is above the river. In other words, it can transform the river water. Protect the paper boats. I gave the order, and all the Yin soldiers took the order, showed their weapons and launched an attack on the water ghosts. The crisis of the water ghost has been lifted for the time being. But I have to control the netherworld ghost sea to move forward, because the netherworld ghost sea is summoned from the same spot. It does not flow with the flow of water. If the ghost sea is not controlled, the Yin soldiers will be washed away by the rushing river. To put it simply, the netherworld ghost sea is a platform for Yin soldiers to stand. The river in front of me didn't know how long it was. The paper boat sailed for about 3 minutes without seeing the end. Su Tianxian suddenly said to me, "Xiao Su, look, what is that?" I looked in the direction Su Tianxian pointed. I saw what seemed to be a huge python in the fast river. No. That doesn't seem to be a python, but a huge chain. While the chain was huge, its length was also astonishing, and it seemed to extend to the entire underground river. Su Tianxian also discovered that it was a chain. Then, she looked in a direction in the river, and her beautiful eyebrows were slightly frowned, as if she had seen something weird. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 912. I looked in the direction Su Tianxian was looking and saw a huge chain there. Not just there, there are other places. I counted 9 chains in total. These 9 chains go straight forward along the underground river. It feels like there is some giant beast tied to the end of the river. These 9 chains gave me a strong sense of crisis. At this moment, the paper boat shook violently. I quickly stabilized my body and looked directly ahead of the paper boat. It didn't matter when he saw it, and he suddenly broke into a cold sweat. I saw a fault at the end of the river, and the churning river water fell straight under the fault. Directly in front of the fault was darkness that could not be seen. Cliff. I looked at Su Tianxian and found that her expression was extremely ugly. I quickly summoned the heavenly secret, drew the waterproof talisman, and then used the waterproof talisman on me and Su Tianxian. At the moment when the water-avoiding talisman took effect, the paper boat rushed straight down the cliff. I quickly took back the netherworld ghost sea. I grabbed Su Tianxian's slender hand, pulled it into my arms, and protected it tightly. Immediately afterwards, a falling feeling hit me, and the cold river water cut me like a knife. Su Tianxian held my waist tightly, her pretty face pressed against my chest. There was only the sound of rushing water in my ears, and no other sounds could be heard. I tried to open my eyes and looked down, and everywhere I looked I saw white flowers. The current situation between Su Tianxian and I is equivalent to jumping off a cliff. It's just that there is water at the bottom of the cliff, but the presence of water does not mean that we will be safe, because no one knows the situation under the water. It would be bad if we hit a boulder when we fell underwater. So I have to stay vigilant at all times. When we fall from the waterfall into the water, I can expand the Nine Eyes Sky Realm immediately, slow down the impact, and return to the surface. At this moment, I truly protected Su Tianxian. She is in my arms. Although the situation is very critical now, my heart has never been so secure. Because, no matter what happens next, I will protect Su Tianxian, even if it costs my life. The self-falling state lasted for more than 30 seconds. At this moment, I suddenly felt a ringing in my ears, and I knew I had fallen into the water. Then, as soon as this thought occurred, I felt a sharp pain in my back. People will die if they fall into water from a height. Because any object falling freely has to withstand the acceleration of gravity, which is getting faster and faster. If you fall into the sea on your stomach, your internal organs will be cracked by the water and cause internal bleeding. If your back is turned into the sea, the stress on the internal organs will be relatively small, but there will be a large area of congestion on the back. It will rot if treated in time. If the head is facing into the sea, the fontanelle on the top of the head will be directly penetrated. In order to protect Su Tianxian in my arms, my back was facing the water. Of course, I also adjusted some postures to let my feet enter the water first. Because only in this way can there be a chance of survival. Moreover, I also used the energy of crepe myrtle to protect my body, but even so, I could still feel bursts of severe pain. I opened my eyes suddenly and saw a huge boulder less than 1 meter away from us. I was shocked and quickly used Nine Eyes Heavenly Domain. When I was about to hit the boulder, I instantly disappeared from the spot. With a pop, Su Tianxian and I raised our heads above the water, breathing heavily. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Sky Coffin. Author, Qingnian Wanbao. Chapter 913. The river water wet Su Tianxian's hair, and crystal water droplets hung on her face. I stretched out my hand, wiped it gently, and then asked, Master, are you okay? Su Tianxian shook his head slightly at me, then imitated me and wiped off the water stains on my face. At this moment, neither of us noticed each other, and we were still hugging each other tightly. I looked around and saw the river bank not far away. I pulled Su Tianxian and swam toward the river bank. After a while, the two of us arrived on the river bank, all wet. Su Tianxian stretched out her slender hands and gently twisted her hair. I collapsed on the ground, holding my lower back and breathing heavily. The impact of just falling into the water was simply too great, and his back was probably bruised. Su Tianxian saw me in such pain, came to my side, and asked with concern, "Xiao Su, are you okay?" I shook my head and said, "It's okay." Without any explanation, Su Tianxian directly lifted up my clothes and looked at my back. She frowned with a look of distress on her face. "It's okay, it's just a small bruise. Just bear with it and I'll rub it for you. If the bruise is small, there is no active bleeding locally. Appropriate massage, kneading, and hot packs can be used for external application. However, if the bruise is large, massage may worsen the injury." Su Tianxian stretched out her slender hand, gently placed it on my back, and then gently rubbed the bruised area for me. Her hands were soft and ice cold, as warm and smooth as a piece of mutton fat jade, with a touch of coolness. I smiled and said, "Master, didn't you just say that too much physical contact between master and disciple was excessive? What do you do now?" Su Tianxian was slightly stunned and whispered, "You are injured. Master takes care of his apprentice. It is only natural. This reason is so reasonable." I let out a long sigh and said, "This time, it's finally my turn to protect you." Su Tianxuan's hand movements froze, and then he said quietly, "Don't do this next time. I can handle this kind of thing." Indeed, with Su Tianxuan's strength, it should be easy to deal with this kind of thing. But I can't always hide behind her, right? As Su Tianxian just said, it is natural for a master to take care of his disciples. However, I don't want to always hide behind her and watch her run around for the sake of fatigue. This is just the beginning. I will protect you in the days to come." Su Tianxian lowered his eyes and said nothing. After a while, Su Tianxian stood up and said, "Okay, the injury is not too serious, but you should not do any strenuous exercise." I nodded, looked around and said, "Master, where are we now?" Su Tianxian shook her head and said she didn't know either. "The surrounding light is not bright, but you can still see clearly, and these lights all come from unknown minerals on the rock wall." I looked towards the waterfall we fell down before. Just now I couldn't see it clearly because it was too close, but now I can see it very clearly. The waterfall is very wide and I can't see the edge at a glance, but I can clearly see the 9 huge chains. They fell from the waterfall like pillars of heaven and stood in front of the waterfall. These 9 chains hang straight down into the huge deep pool under the waterfall. At this moment, I suddenly felt a strong evil spirit. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 914. At this moment, I saw the 9 huge chains trembling slightly. Seeing this scene, I was stunned on the spot. A bold idea emerged in my mind. There is something in this deep pool. Su Tianxian and I looked at each other, and Su Tianxuan's beautiful eyes were full of solemnity. I looked at the calm water and asked, "Master, could this be a place where evil spirits are raised?" I didn't feel the slightest evil spirit in the entire Penglai Island, but I felt it here. Possible. Su Tianxian agreed with me very much. I was a little happy that one of the 4 evil places that we had been looking for so hard was unexpectedly bumped into by us. Moreover, the people from Dao sect have not arrived here yet. In other words, we can take the first step to remove the evil core. I told Su Tianxian my thoughts, and she nodded and said, "You are right. Since we arrived here first, we must destroy the evil core first." I nodded, and Su Tianxian used the water-avoiding talisman to act on me and her. Just when he was about to enter the water, Su Tianxian suddenly asked, "Xiao Su, is the injury on your back really okay?" Seeing Su Tianxuan's concern, I felt warm in my heart. I shook my head at her and replied, "It's just a minor injury. There's nothing wrong with it." Of course Su Tianxian knew it was a minor injury, but she couldn't help but care. Then, the 2 of us jumped into the deep pool and swam toward the bottom along the chain. The water in the pool was freezing cold, but it was much warmer than the water in Yin Lake. Soon, Su Tianqian and I arrived at the bottom of the pool. We looked around and found nothing out of the ordinary. The 9 huge and thick chains were inserted straight into the bottom of the pool. This shouldn't be the case. How could there be nothing? At this time, Su Tianqian walked towards a big stone. I quickly followed him. She came to the stone and stared closely at the huge stone. She stretched out her slender hand and held the magic weapon. In an instant, Su Tianxian's fingertips glowed with golden light, and she slapped the stone hard. Golden light exploded on the rocks, and then I felt the bottom of the pool begin to shake violently, and the land under our feet began to collapse. Su Tianqian grabbed my hand and pulled me towards her arms. I was slightly stunned and had no idea what was happening. The next moment, the entire bottom of the pool began to sink and collapse. Strangely, the water in the pool did not flow downwards as the ground sank. Then, Su Tianqian and I fell directly from the bottom of the pool. It's like coming from this space to another space. I looked around and found that there was a brand new space at the bottom of the pool. This scene reminded me of the time I was at Muang Reservoir. The same is true for Muang Reservoir. Under the reservoir, there is another space. I didn't understand how this kind of space was formed before, but now that I think about it carefully, it should be the same principle as the formation of the underworld. Once the yin qi and evil spirits are strong to a certain extent, a brand new space can be formed. I looked below me. There were rugged rocks and lush vegetation below. I quickly used 9 Eyes Heaven Realm and disappeared into the air a second before we descended. When we reappeared, we were already standing firmly on a boulder. "Master, are you not injured?" Su Tianqian shook his head at me and looked around seriously. "The evil spirit here is very strong, I don't know how many times it is stronger than above." Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 915. The 9 huge chains dropped straight down from the pool. But when it reaches this point vertically, the chain spreads in one direction. Su Tianqian and I walked in the direction where the chains spread. On the way, I asked, "Master, isn't there something locked at the end of this chain?" Su Tianqian nodded and said, "It's very possible." This made my expression instantly become alert. These 9 chains are so huge and thick. What kind of monster is locked at the end of them? Could it be another dragon? This is not impossible. But whatever is at the end of the chain, we have to see it. After all, destroying the evil core is the most important thing. Su Tianqian and I walked side by side, and soon, a huge mountain range appeared in front of me. There is a huge cave halfway up the mountain, and the ends of the 9 chains are in the cave. At this moment, I suddenly heard the sound of several people talking not far away. I looked stern and looked in the direction of the sound. Everywhere you look, there are dense trees and bushes. I frowned. From this angle, I couldn't see clearly the direction in which the sound was coming from. After hesitating for a moment, Su Tianqian and I walked lightly towards the direction of the sound. I lifted the bushes in front of me and saw the figures of 4 people. 2 of the figures looked familiar to me. Yao Yan and Zhao Mian respectively. Zhao Mian is indeed here. The remaining 2 should also be members of the Taoist sect. Except for Yao Yan, the other 2 people were respectful to Zhao Mian and flattered him from time to time. "Warlock Zhao, with your help this time, we will definitely be able to get the evil core." "That's right. It would be difficult to defeat that monster with just the strength of a few of us. Warlock Zhao, it shouldn't be a problem for you to deal with that golden-haired beast, right?" Those 2 people spoke to each other, and their words were nothing but flattery. Zhao Mian wore a bronze mask and could not clearly see the expression on his face. He suddenly stopped and snorted coldly. "If you 2 dare to say another word, I will kill you both." Zhao Mian's voice was filled with murderous intent. The 2 Taoist sect members quickly closed their mouths, shrank their necks, and did not speak. I could clearly see that the two people were so frightened by what Zhao Mian just said that they even broke out in cold sweat. Two pieces of trash. Zhao Mian said coldly. Yan pursed his lips and smiled coquettishly. Thousands of years have passed, why haven't you changed your bad temper? This sentence already shows that Yao Yan and Zhao Mian know each other. However, if you think about it carefully, Yao Yan's soul is immortal, and he will be reincarnated with memories of several lives. Maybe he will know Zhao Mian in that life. And Zhao Mian also lived for 1,000 years. According to those Yin Tong, Zhao Mian existed during the Qin dynasty. Zhao Mian glanced at her lightly and said, if you don't speak, no one will treat you as a mute. Yao Yan was not annoyed, and still covered his mouth with a sweet smile, and said jokingly, alas, you treat a little girl like me like this. I'm afraid Lu Su is the only one in the world who can make you fall in love. Zhao Mian snorted coldly, Lu Su, he will kill him sooner or later. The grievances between Zhao Mian and I are irreconcilable. Although I don't know what grudges I had with Zhao Mian in previous lives, but in this life, I have a very deep grudge with him. Zhao Mian suddenly asked, by the way, are the 3,000 boys and girls ready? You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 916. 3,000 boys and girls. A bad premonition suddenly arose in my heart. The 3,000 boys and girls that Zhao Mian mentioned, couldn't be the ones on the building boat, right? His next words confirmed the unknown feeling in my heart. Ready? Yeotu said. You are really capable. How did you know that Lu Su would come by boat? Zhao Mian laughed sinisterly, there is no one in this world who understands him better than me. I heard a conversation between two people that was extremely regretful. Why didn't you hide the 3,000 boys and girls before leaving the ship? Although they are souls, they can still be reincarnated. What does Zhao Mian want to do with these 3,000 boys and girls? I suddenly remembered what these 3,000 boys and girls had said before. They said that the immortals on the island wanted to sacrifice them. Is it possible that Zhao Mian wanted these 3,000 boys and girls to sacrifice? I already know what is held at the end of the chain. The Taoist man just made it very clear. The person imprisoned at the end of the chain is the golden retriever. Jin Mao Huan is the true body of Jing Guangxian, but, why is Jin Mao Huan's true body locked up here, and there is another Jing Guangxian outside? Every place with 4 evil spirits will have a carrier to absorb evil spirits. The carrier of evil spirits absorbed by Corpse Mountain Gu Si is Gu Dragon. And the carrier of evil spirits in Penglai Xiandao must be the golden retriever. The whole thing is becoming more and more confusing. Jing Guangxian is an immortal from Penglai Immortal Island, but now he has become a carrier of evil spirits. The person who can set up this overall situation should not be Zhang Yucheng, because his strength is far from being able to match the existence of an immortal. At this time, Yao Yan asked again, since you know Lu Su so well, tell me, where is he now? Zhao Mian just smiled sinisterly and said nothing, but his behavior made me panic. Zhao Mian and the others continued to move forward. Su Tianxian and I did not rush to follow. Instead, we stayed where we were. The two of us discussed in low voices. Master, what should we do now? Isn't Jing Guangxian the god here? How could he become a carrier of evil energy? Su Tianxian pondered for a moment and whispered, when I first saw Jing Guangxian, I felt something was wrong. He gave me the feeling of an incorporeal soul. I was slightly stunned and asked, Master, do you mean that the Golden Light Immortal is only willing to absorb evil spirits? Su Tianxian shook his head and replied, I'm not sure either. But Su Tianxian changed the subject and continued, it's useless to say anything now. Let's follow them first to see what they are up to and see if we can find an opportunity to take action. I nodded. This was the only way at the moment. Moreover, I also want to find an opportunity to talk with Zhao Mian. Grandpa told me that he had the ability to change me. I will not let go of any opportunity to become stronger, even if it is to cooperate with Zhao Mian. We, master and apprentice, followed Zhao Mian and others. Soon, we came to the huge cave. If Miao Fengluan were here, our movements would be much easier. After all, she can use Shinayan to hide our tracks. Otherwise, Su Tianqian and I can enter the cave first to see what is going on in the cave. Zhao Mian and the people from Daemen stopped in front of the cave and stopped moving forward, seemingly waiting for someone. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanba. Chapter 917. Su Tianqian and I hid in the bushes on the side and quietly watched everything happening in front of us. Not long after, I heard dull footsteps behind me. I screamed in my heart, and sure enough, someone came. Moreover, the person came from behind us. What should we do now? If we are discovered, there will definitely be a hard battle. If Yao Yan were alone, with the strength of Su Tianqian and I, we would be able to defeat him easily. However, Zhao Mian is here. You must know that Zhao Mian's strength is unfathomable, and his master has fought against him more than once. But you can't take any advantage every time. In other words, Zhao Mian's strength is equal to that of his master, or even stronger. I looked around, my mind racing, and finally placed my sight under a tree. The footsteps of the man behind me were getting closer and closer, and I couldn't care about anything else. I grabbed Su Tianxuan's hand, used Nine Eyes' heavenly domain and left the place. The next time he appeared was under that tree. There are many shrubs around, but there is very little vegetation under the tree. In this case, when our master and apprentice appear, there will be less noise. Our master and apprentice didn't make much noise when they moved. At most it is the sound of leaves blown by the wind. I looked at where we were before and saw an old man with white hair and black robes walking towards the entrance of the cave. The old man gave people a very uncomfortable feeling, like a dying old man, with a haggard look and a shambling step. Judging from the aura exuding from the old man, he should be a certain leader of the Taoist sect. He came straight to Zhao Mian and said in a hoarse voice, "Everything is ready?" Zhao Mian nodded and led everyone towards the cave. Our master and apprentice quickly followed. The cave is huge, at least 100 meters long and wide. I didn't dare to follow too closely, because the whole cave was so empty, and I could hear very clear echoes while walking in it. There are no winding roads in the cave, just a straight road forward. Soon we arrived at the innermost part of the cave. Inside the cave is a huge altar, and the 9 huge and thick chains also ended abruptly at the altar. There is a very huge black shadow in the middle of the altar. The outline of the black shadow looked like a huge dog or a big lion. The surroundings were dark, with only the torches in the hands of the 2 Taoists emitting a faint light. The 2 men took torches and lit the torches around the altar. In an instant, the dim firelight illuminated the situation in the cave brightly. And the true appearance of the black shadow was clearly illuminated. That is indeed a golden retriever. The golden retriever looks like a horse, but its body is 1 to 2 feet longer than a horse. Its head is like a dragon, its body is like a lion, its feet are like a unicorn, and its body is wrapped in fire. The whole body is covered with dazzling golden hair, giving people an extremely domineering and majestic feeling. The golden retriever lay on the spot and didn't move when he heard someone coming. Zhao Mian came to Jin Maoan, who slowly opened his eyes and glanced at him, followed by an extremely loud and deafening sound that resounded throughout the cave. "Is things ready?" Zhao Mian nodded and said, "Get ready. I have captured those 3,000 boys and girls. You can enjoy them later." Jin Mahuan said, "Yes, as long as I eat those 3,000 boys and girls, The evil core in my body will be yours. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanba. Chapter 918. My guess was indeed correct. Zhao Mian really wanted to sacrifice those 3,000 boys and girls to Jin Maoan. Perhaps, 1,000 years ago, Zhao Mian seduced Su Fu and brought 3,000 boys and girls to Penglai Immortal Island just for this matter. However, this evil-raising place existed thousands of years ago. You know, Zhang Yachain was not born 1,000 years ago. It seems that everything behind this is not as simple as I imagined. Is everything Zhang Yachain does for himself or for others? Zhao Mian cupped his hands towards Jin Mahuan and said, "Thank you very much, Immortal. Don't worry, that evil spirit has been enjoying itself outside for too long and is definitely no match for you. After you eat those 3,000 boys and girls, the strength will rise a lot, and it will be a matter of time to devour him." Jin Mahuan burst out laughing after hearing this. Okay. Okay. My damn evil spirit has trapped me here for so long, and today I can finally leave here. When it comes to the conversation between the two people, half of the doubts in my heart have been solved. The relationship between Jin Mahuan and Jin Guangxian is the same as that between Laozi and Mission Ghost Lord. The Mission Ghost Lord is the evil thought and evil soul of Lao Tzu, that is to say, Lao Tzu dominates. The golden-haired cat in front of us is the body and soul of Jin Guangxian. The golden-haired fairy we just saw is the evil soul of the golden-haired cat. However, I was also confused. Then, since the golden-haired turtle in front of me is a good soul, why did he swallow 3,000 boys and girls? Before I could think about it carefully, Zhao Mian called on the Taoist sect members to start setting up the magic circle. Su Tianxuan's expression became a little serious when she saw the magic circle they had set up. She whispered in my ear, "The magic circle they set up is a soul-inducing formation. There is an extremely stringent condition for using the soul-inducing force, that is, if you want to successfully attract the soul, you must have the opponent's personal clothing or hair, blood, nails. Because only these things serve as a medium, the soul-inducing town can attract the souls. The Taoist elder who just came here should be collecting soul guides." In less than 5 minutes, the soul-inducing formation had been set up. Zhao Mian stood in the center of the magic circle, holding the sword formula in his hand and muttering something in his mouth. I looked at Su Tianxian and asked with my eyes whether I should take action. She shook her head slightly at me and whispered, "Wait a minute, we are taking action when the magic circle is about to be activated." I nodded. When the magic circle is about to be activated, all of Zhao Mian's energy is focused on the magic circle at that time. If we take action, the chance of success will be higher. Just when the magic circle was about to activate, I held Su Tianxuan's hand, and just when I was about to use Nine Eyes' heavenly domain, a figure suddenly rushed out from the darkness. I quickly dispersed the Nine Eyes heaven realm. I saw the man wearing a black robe, making secrets with both hands, and hitting Zhao Mian directly. Immediately afterwards, Zhao Mian snorted coldly, turned around suddenly, and hit the man with a palm. Boom! The man was blown away directly. "I've known you were coming for a long time, and I've been waiting for you here for a long time," Zhao Mian said jokingly. The man stabilized his figure and looked at Zhao Mian coldly. He was a middle-aged man with a bun hairstyle from the Qin and Han dynasties, a long beard. Both hair and beard were white. He was tall, elegant and masculine at the same time. "Zhao Mian, after 1,000 years, you are finally willing to come back. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment." Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanba. Chapter 919. Zhao Mian listened and sneered, "Brother Su, it's been 1,000 years, I didn't expect you still care about me so much. Brother Su, Su Fu. I was a little surprised. I didn't expect that the person in front of me was Su Fu. But, he is not a ghost, but why can he keep his appearance forever? What a shame, Su Fu scolded sternly, for these 1,000 years, I have been thinking about how to kill you every day. Zhao Mian shrugged, sighed helplessly, and said, Brother Su, why do you hate me so much? If it weren't for me, would you have lived so long? If it weren't for me, you would have been killed by King Qin. Su Fu's eyes were full of viciousness and resentment. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't have been trapped here for 1,000 years. If it weren't for you, those children wouldn't have died. If it weren't for you, the entire Great Qin wouldn't have perished. I don't know what happened between Su Fu and Zhao Mian. This has nothing to do with me. After all, it is a grudge between the two of them. Zhao Mian said hypocritically, Brother Su, what you said makes me very sad. I used to be a brother. Brother, Su Fu raised a sneer at the corner of his mouth, the thing I regret most in my life is that we are both brothers. Oh, Zhao Mian glanced at Su Fu casually, in this case, there is no need to continue talking. I originally wanted to take you with me to change everything, but now it seems there is no need. As soon as Zhao Mian finished speaking, Su Fu's figure flashed and disappeared instantly. When he reappeared, he was already in front of Zhao Mian. Just when Su Fu was about to hit Zhao Mian's chest with his palm, a beautiful figure flashed in front of Su Fu's eyes. Master Su, don't be so impatient. You and I should discuss and learn from each other first. Yao Yan looked at Su Fu with a smile. Su Fu was slightly stunned. It was obvious that he did not remember who the person in front of him was. After saying a few words, Su Fu and Yao Tong fought together. Zhao Mian snorted coldly, turned around, and continued to activate the magic circle. At this time, Su Tianqian said to me, do it. I quickly used Nine Eyes Heaven Realm and Su Tianqian disappeared from the spot instantly. We are not far from the location of the magic circle, just within the scope of the Nine Eyes Heavenly Domain. In just one breath, Su Tianqian and I arrived in front of Zhao Mian. Before Zhao Mian could react, he was knocked away by Su Tianxuan's palm. Then, Su Tianqian turned around, picked up the seal of the 9 layers of thunder technique, and directly defeated the formation. With a bang, the entire formation dispersed. This sudden scene shocked everyone present. After Zhao Mian saw me, he smiled and said, Your Majesty, we meet again. I looked at him coldly and said, You already knew I would come, why did you say hello so hypocritically? Zhao Mian pretended to be very heartbroken and said angrily, Your Majesty, your words really hurt my heart. Stop pretending, you and I don't need to talk too much nonsense. Zhao Mian's eyes gradually turned cold, and he said coldly, If this is the case, then let's do it directly. Just when I opened my stance and wanted to fight Zhao Mian, a roar of a wild beast suddenly came from behind me. The powerful air wave blew us all back. I don't know when the golden retriever started to stand up. Its huge eyes were full of viciousness and resentment, and it wanted to eat us alive. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 920. Zhao Mian took a step forward and said, Shangxian, this is not my fault. You have also seen that I have prepared everything. They suddenly appeared and interrupted my plan. There is nothing I can do. Jin Maoan looked at me, stunned for a moment, with a strange look in his eyes. The look it gave me just now felt like, it knew me. I can't believe you actually made it this far. I was slightly startled, as I seemed to have heard the sentence somewhere. Wait, Xin Tian seems to have said the same thing. This made me extremely confused. Why did I actually achieve this step? Which step was it? Just when I was confused, Jin Maoan looked at Su Tianqian again, his eyes full of shock. Then it burst into laughter. Jin Mahuan didn't open his mouth, but his voice sounded from all directions in the cave. Ha ha ha. It seems that even though you have tried hundreds of millions of times, you still fail and are defeated at the hands of this woman. I frowned, pointed at Jin Maoan and said, "What the hell are you talking about? If you have anything to say, please make it clear. Why do we try hundreds of millions of times and still fail because of Su Tianxian? What kind of riddle is this golden-haired beast doing?" Jin Mahuan looked at me with murderous intent in his eyes. To be honest, the fact that you have come this far will shock everyone, however, you will still fail. Since you will fail sooner or later, then I will kill you first and help you in your next reincarnation. The golden retriever roared and rushed towards me. Although it is locked by chains, the chains are extremely long. With the strength of the golden retriever, there should be no problem in dragging these chains in battle. But it just couldn't leave the cave. The golden retriever stretched out its sharp claws and clawed straight at me. I quickly used Nine Eyes' heavenly domain to leave the place. I heard a loud bang, and a huge deep hole was dug out of the place where I was just now. I summoned the heart sword and pinched the thunder Jew. Blue thunder and lightning wrapped around the sword. I jumped up and struck hard at the golden hair fang. But Jin Mahuan reacted very quickly, turned around and slapped me away with a palm. Su Tianxian jumped up and caught me firmly. At this time, I suddenly discovered that Zhao Mian was rearranging the soul-inducing array again. Su Tianxian also noticed Zhao Mian's little moves. She said to me, "Don't let Zhao Mian lure those 3,000 boys and girls here. I'll deal with this golden retriever, and you go deal with him." I nodded, that was all I could do now. I used the power of the Nine Eyes Heaven realm and disappeared instantly. When I reappeared, I was already in front of Zhao Mian. I raised the sword in my hand and slashed hard at Zhao Mian. Zhao Mian reacted quickly and took a step back to avoid my fatal blow. Zhao Mian looked at me teasingly. "Your Majesty, I guess you already know about her, right?" Zhao Mian pointed at Su Tianxian. I looked at Zhao Mian seriously and said, "I know." The teasing look in Zhao Mian's eyes became more intense. "Now that you know it, you can't bear to see your beloved woman, no. Should your beloved master leave you? Become that god who only has a name but no body." It seems that Zhao Mian has known everything for a long time, and he is tempting me to cooperate with him. In no mood. Zhao Mian smiled and said, "If you don't want to, then you and I can join forces."